Good evening, everyone. I'm Tanya Rivero. We begin with new details in the shooting of an off-duty Border Patrol officer in Upper Manhattan. Authorities say the 42-year-old victim was shot in the face during an attempted robbery involving two people who rode up on a scooter around midnight last night in Fort Washington Park. There is no indication he was targeted due to his job. Police say the suspected gunman, 21-year-old Miguel Mora, is in the country illegally and has a history of violence. That includes 2 domestic violence arrests in New York. He's also a suspect in several other crimes. Eyewitness News reporter Sonia Rincon is live in Washington Heights with the details. Sonia.
Yeah, Tanya, the shootout in the park under the bridge last night has gotten the attention of President Trump. And that's because you have the suspect who was a wanted man who was supposed to have been deported, and you have the victim who was, ironically, a Customs and Border Patrol officer off duty. That 42-year-old officer is based here in New York City, and police say he was not targeted because of his job, but his bosses say he did his job, and they are calling him a hero.
He executed our mission, which is to protect the country, and he did it by stopping a threat.
Chilling surveillance video released by the Department of Homeland Security shows 2 men on a moped pulling up to the officer and his female companion and pulling out a gun. The off-duty officer pulls out his service weapon. The gunman shoots him in the face and arm, while the officer fires back, hitting the gunman's leg. Police quickly got to the scene that an ambulance couldn't easily reach just under the George Washington Bridge, but it turns out they were already on their way.
We also had an additional 911 call for a robbery that had taken place about 5 minutes previous. Very similar motive, 2 males on a scooter that forcibly removed a cell phone from a woman.
Tonight, as the officer recovers at Harlem Hospital, where he was able to communicate with visiting officials using hand signals, 21-year-old Miguel Mora is in custody after limping into a hospital in the Bronx. His photo shared by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, who noted that he's a citizen of the Dominican Republic with a criminal history.
Our initial investigation reveals that Mr. Mora entered the country illegally in 2023 through Arizona.
Since then, the commissioner says he's been arrested for domestic violence, but the NYPD has been looking for him for other crimes.
At the time of this shooting, he had an active bench warrant from the Bronx, was wanted for a robbery from last December and a stabbing from January.
Mr. Mora is also wanted outside of New York and Massachusetts for the robbery of a pawn shop in which guns were stolen in February 2025.
But it took a shootout in a park after a robbery attempt on an off-duty federal officer to land him in custody. An officer whose job happens to be to protect the borders, and a suspect accused of crossing one illegally and committing violent crimes ever since. Exactly the type of individual the mayor says the city is cooperating with the federal government to try to capture.
The violent migrant and asylum seekers who are bringing violence and really tarnish the reputation of those who come to this country to pursue the American dream.
Mora is still recovering from his wounds, but he is expected to be charged with attempted murder and in the other cases for which he was wanted. Police, meanwhile, are still looking for his alleged accomplice on the moped. Live in Washington Heights, Sonia Rincon, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.